All right, let's dive into the world of cybersecurity today. We're taking a deep dive into Zscaler. And you've given us a mountain of material to wade through. Research reports, articles, all asking that big question. Is Zscaler a smart, long-term investment? Now, whether this is for your own portfolio or you're prepping for a big meeting, or maybe you're just super curious about this company, we've got you covered. And hey, stick around till the very end. We've got a thought-provoking question about the future of cybersecurity that'll really get you thinking.
Sounds like a plan.
So let's start with the basics. Zscaler, founded by Jay Chaudhry, a real veteran in the cybersecurity world. But what's the bigger picture here? Why should we even care about Zscaler?
Well, Zscaler is playing in a field that's absolutely booming right now. We're talking about the global cybersecurity market. It's projected to explode from about $172 billion in 2023 to a massive $562 billion by 2032. That's a compound annual growth rate, nearly 14.3%.
Oh, okay. That is some serious growth. What's fueling that kind of demand?
It's like a perfect storm, really. You've got the number of cyber attacks constantly rising. More and more companies are migrating to the cloud. And then you add in the rise of remote work, people connecting from everywhere. All of this just screams out for strong cybersecurity solutions.
And that's where Zscaler comes in, right?
Exactly.
They've got this cloud-based security platform they call the Zero Trust Exchange. Basically, it helps users connect securely
To
applications, to the internet, no matter where they are or what device they're using.
Right, and that zero trust model is pretty interesting. You don't just automatically trust anyone. Inside or outside your network, you're constantly verifying and securing each and every connection. It's a big change from how things used to be.
So Zscaler has a few flagship products that really makes them stand out. There's Zscaler Internet Access, or ZIA for short. That's all about secure browsing and accessing external applications. Then there's Zscaler Private Access, or ZPA, helping you access internal apps without needing those pesky VPNs. And then there's Zscaler Digital Experience, or ZDX, making sure things are running smoothly for users across all those different business applications.
Precisely. What they're doing is really smart. They're reducing the attack surface, they're giving users a seamless experience, and they're simplifying IT operations, all by getting rid of those old-school on-premises security appliances.
So it's a win-win-win for everyone involved. Sounds pretty compelling.
Definitely has the potential.
Let's talk about the team behind all of this. We know Jay Chaudhry, the CEO. He's got a proven track record in cybersecurity. But what about the rest of Zscaler's leadership? How are they handling things on a day-to-day basis?
Well, you can look at their recent launch of Asset Exposure Management. It's a new feature, helps organizations get a clear view of their assets and any potential security vulnerabilities, which is a big deal these days, shows they're actively innovating and responding to those evolving needs.
That's a great point. And it's not just about innovating. Think back to the pandemic. When everyone suddenly had to work remotely, Zscaler, they managed to transition their whole workforce without any hiccups, seamlessly. That says a lot about their ability to handle a crisis.
Absolutely. And they're really transparent. They release an annual report all about how they handle government requests for user data. Building that trust is critical in cybersecurity.
Okay, so we've got a solid product. Innovation, crisis management, and transparency. Let's talk about the financials. It seems like Zscaler is really focused on growth over things like dividends or share buybacks. So what does their financial health actually look like?
All right, well, their current market cap is $30.10 billion, but they're not GAAP profitable yet, meaning they haven't consistently made a profit, according to those generally accepted accounting principles. So in cases like this, we look at metrics like the price-to-sales ratio, which for Zscaler is 13.1x.
But their revenue growth is pretty impressive, though, right?
Yeah.
We're talking 30.77%. And a gross margin of 78.03%. That's really healthy. And a free cash flow of $652.1 million. That's nothing to scoff at.
You're right. There are a lot of positives. They're clearly doing well when it comes to growth and generating cash, and they're performing well on the Rule of 40. It's a key metric for those software-as-a-service companies.
Rule of 40. Can you break that down a bit?
Sure. The Rule of 40 basically states that a healthy SaaS company should have its revenue growth rate plus its profit margin equal or exceed 40%. It's a way to quickly see if a company is balancing growth and profitability, and the fact that Zscaler is doing well by this metric could mean good things for their profitability down the line.
So this Rule of 40, something investors should definitely be watching.
Absolutely. It's a strong indicator.
Okay, so far so good. But you did mention that Zscaler wasn't GAAP profitable yet. Are there any other potential red flags investors should be aware of?
Well, along with that lack of consistent profitability, Their debt-to-equity ratio is a bit high.
Yeah.
Basically, they've taken on a lot of debt to fuel their growth. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
So kind of a mixed bag when it comes to their financials. Strong growth and cash flow are working in their favor, but that lack of profitability and that debt,
Mhm.
definitely things to consider. We'll dig into those potential risks and opportunities in a bit. But first, let's see how the market is viewing Zscaler right now.
Yeah. Let's see what the market thinks. So market sentiment, this is all about what the broader market thinks of Zscaler and its potential. For any investor, that's pretty important.
Right, because even if we think a company is amazing, it doesn't mean everyone else agrees. And that perception,
Hmm.
ultimately, that drives the stock price. So what's the overall sentiment like right now?
Well, the analysts seem pretty bullish on Zscaler. The consensus rating is a moderate buy, and their average price target is actually above Zscaler's current share price.
So the experts are optimistic.
That seems to be the general feeling, yeah. But it's not all smooth sailing. There's been some recent news about increased competition and potential execution risks, and that's introduced some volatility into the stock price.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even the most promising companies can face headwinds. Speaking of promising, though, what about Zscaler's recent partnership with Ernst & Young? They're teaming up to help businesses improve their security and navigate those tricky digital transformations, all using cloud-based solutions.
That's a big partnership. Ernst & Young is a major player, and this move signals a lot of confidence in Zscaler's technology and their market position.
That makes sense. Now let's move on to something that might seem like a small detail, but it can actually tell us a lot. Who owns Zscaler's stock?
You mean the ownership structure?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all about understanding who has a vested interest in the company. And with Zscaler, institutional investors hold a big chunk of the shares, about 86.36%.
Okay, so big institutions are betting on Zscaler. What's that tell us?
Well, institutional investors usually do a ton of research before they invest, so that level of ownership suggests they believe in the company's long-term potential.
What about insider ownership, the people who actually work at Zscaler?
Insider ownership is pretty significant too, which tells us that management believes in the company they're building.
Right, Bess. I remember reading something about some recent insider selling. Isn't that usually a red flag?
It can be, but it's not always cause for alarm. Sometimes insiders sell for personal reasons. Diversifying their portfolio, estate planning, doesn't necessarily mean they lack confidence in the company. It's worth watching, but I wouldn't jump to conclusions.
Good point. Let's move on to a critical part of any investment analysis. Zscaler's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That SWOT analysis you provided is a great way to break it all down.
Definitely. A SWOT analysis gives us that comprehensive picture of where Zscaler stands.
So strengths. What are some of Zscaler's biggest ones?
Well, their brand reputation is huge. They're known for innovation and quality in the cybersecurity world. Plus, their cloud-native platform gives them a real cost advantage over those traditional security solutions.
Right, we've already talked about those network effects. The more users join Zscaler's platform, the more effective it becomes. And once a company adopts Zscaler, switching costs can be really high.
Precisely. And they've been very strategic with their partnerships, which just makes them stronger in the market.
But every company has weaknesses, right? What about Zscalers? What are some potential risks for investors?
Well, one weakness is their reliance on cloud services. If there's a major cloud outage, it could disrupt everything.
True. And while they're growing fast, they still haven't achieved consistent profitability.
Right, that lack of consistent GAAP profitability is a concern.
Definitely something investors are watching closely.
And then there's the competition. Zscaler's up against some established players and new startups, all going after that same cloud security market.
So they have to keep innovating to stay ahead.
Yeah, if they fall behind technologically, they risk losing that edge.
Okay, so we've talked about internal strengths and weaknesses. What about those external factors? Opportunities and threats.
So looking at opportunities, the cybersecurity market itself is growing like crazy, and that shift towards cloud-based security and remote work, that plays right into Zscaler's strength.
Absolutely. They're in the right place at the right time.
And they have a huge opportunity to expand globally, tap into those new markets. Plus, with AI and machine learning, there's potential for even more sophisticated cybersecurity solutions.
But of course, with opportunity comes risk. What are some of the threats Zscaler needs to be ready for?
Well, the threat landscape is always changing. It's an arms race to stay ahead of those cyber attacks.
And as we've said, the competition is only going to get more intense.
Right. And then there's always the possibility of an economic downturn that could lead to budget cuts and less spending on cybersecurity.
So a lot to consider. Where do we land on Zscaler then? Buy, sell, or hold?
Based on all the research you've given me, Zscaler definitely has potential. They're in a rapidly growing market, strong brand reputation, innovative solutions.
But they're not without their challenges. That lack of consistent profitability, the debt.
Right, and while they're aligned with some value investing principles, their current valuation might not be a safe enough bet for a cautious investor.
What should investors be watching for in the coming months and years?
I'd say keep an eye on their progress toward profitability, how they handle that increasingly competitive market, and how management executes their growth strategy. Those are the key things to watch.
Great insights. Thanks for breaking it all down. All right, so we've really dug deep into Zscaler today. Their business model, their leadership, the market sentiment, and those potential risks and opportunities. It's been quite the journey. And for those of you who want to dive even deeper, you can find all the sources we use right there in the episode description.
Yeah, always encourage our listeners to explore further, do their own research.
Absolutely. And hey, if there are any other companies or stocks you'd like us to analyze, let us know down in the comments. We love getting your suggestions.
Always looking for new companies to deep dive into.
Okay, so before we sign off, remember that thought-provoking question I promised you at the beginning, the one about the future of cybersecurity.
Oh yeah, the big one.
As technology keeps advancing at this incredible pace, and those cyber threats become even more sophisticated and relentless, could cloud-based security solutions like Zscalers become absolutely essential for every business out there, no matter their size or industry?
That's a great question. It really makes you think. Will those traditional cybersecurity approaches be enough? The firewalls, the antivirus software?
Right. Are those security systems we've relied on for so long, are they going to become obsolete? Definitely something to think about.
A lot to ponder there.
For more insights into the world of investing and technology, be sure to subscribe to the Stock Analytics AI YouTube channel.
We're always putting out new research and analysis over there.
But remember, everything we discussed today is for informational purposes only. It's not financial advice.
Right. We're not financial advisors. Make sure you do your own research and make sure any investment decisions you make align with your own personal goals and risk tolerance.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's it for our deep dive into Zscaler. We hope you found it insightful. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic. Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep investing in yourself.